yourself with MTN Momo. Keep on talking with that 100% feeling. So, what are we doing today?
MTN. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra. In Kumasi, we are on Love 99.5 FM. We are on a number of affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions. We are on Bewa Radio in Karaga. We are in Plenum Radio in Bato, Bedering FM in Bumkrugu, and Swiss FM in Ho. We're live on Twitter Spaces. We're on Facebook. We're on myjoyonline.com. The Midday News is sponsored by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol is always a delightful experience. Also brought to you by Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC pipes and water tank. Where Duraplus goes, water flows. This afternoon, IMF report reviews how 4 loans from China left Ghana on the brink of losing significant amounts of revenue from some key mineral resources, including gold, cocoa, and even revenue from electricity sales. We'll tell you how the recent IMF deal saved the day. Also, push for dismissal of Ken Ofori-Atta intensifies, with rebel NPP MPs demanding urgent meeting with leadership and President Akufo-Addo over the proposal.
A group of MPs met today. We are waiting for the majority leader to come and, either convene a meeting or the president convenes a meeting.
But will Ken Ofori-Atta be sacked? We find out here on the Midday News. Also, NDC and NPP go big in the Kumewu by-elections as both parties deploy deputy ministers, MPs and MMDCs to serve as polling agents and observers at the various polling stations across the constituency.
So far, the MCs and the DCs that are around, Ashanti region, we are around 45. And I can tell you for sure that all of us are around.
Meanwhile, barely 5 hours into the elections, there are already allegations of vote buying against the New Patriotic Party. We'll get to hear from the Inspector General of Police, who promises full security protection for the elections. We are live in Kumewu for that by-election. Also this afternoon, Energy Minister Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh takes on GMPC Board Chairman Freddie Blay for offering portions of Ghana's interest in its oil fields to a South African company.
Demand the immediate removal of GMPC CEO Opoku Ahwenea-Dankwa.
We also have sports.
As he seeks a second term in office, GFA president claims he's overachieved his objectives.
And how do you keep your focus as a singer dropping hits year after year but receive no VGMA recognition?
Everyone can see I always kept going regardless, because it's I feel like I have a higher calling than just letting things get to me and not reaching my full potential.
Ken Promise is in focus this afternoon here on the Midday News. That and more if you stay on for details. We are Joy News, your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. I am Emefa Apawu. Many thanks for choosing us. Let's dig in now. And this afternoon, the approval of Ghana's $3 billion bailout package from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, was predominantly contingent on China's participation in the external debt restructuring talks. This afternoon, the IMF has revealed in its May 2023 country report that Ghana took 4 loan facilities from China worth more than $600 million, collateralized against the production of cocoa, bauxite, and oil, as well as electricity sales. My colleague Isaac Kofi Menta of our research desk, he's been digging into this particular document. He joins me in studio for a quick chat on it. So, Isaac, we continue with this particular deal and the documents that we have. First, help us understand the IMF definition of collateralized loans.
Well, so for collateralized debt is any contracted or guaranteed debt that gives the creditor the right over an asset or revenue stream that will allow it, if the borrower, in actual sense, defaults on its payment obligation, to rely on the asset or revenue stream to secure repayment in the debt.
Well, so give us a broader perspective of what the fund said about collateralized loans constructed in China.
So according to the fund, collateralized debt as of the end of 2022 was entirely held by China. This corresponds to 4 loans agreements signed in 2017-2018 that amounted to $619 million to finance infrastructure projects. So these loans are collateralized against commodity production, and you just mentioned some of them: cocoa, bauxite, and oil, and electricity sales.
Okay. Well, you've also been looking extensively into all the project loans contracted from China and the mineral resources used as collateral. Tell us more.
Well, so we've extended the data, actually looking at our repository from 2000 to 2019, and we saw that per the data we have, President Jacob Kufuor, former president, between 2008, took a loan amount of 735 million from China. Let's look at some of the collateral, loans that he took. It was just one. He took the, 306 million US dollars for the Bui Power construction project, and the collateralized, resource was our cocoa. Then we go to former President Mills. Between 2009 and 2012, he took $1 billion from China. And let's look at what he used for. He used the loans. He actually had about 4 collateralized loans. So first one was for the Integrated National Security Communication Enhancement 2, actually. Oil was used as collateral. There's also the same thing, the Western Corridor gas infrastructure. Also, oil was used as collateral. Then there was President Mahama, who took loans worth $1.5 billion from China. 3 were collateralized loans. First one is the construction of 11 coastal fishing land site projects, which we use our oil revenue as collateral. Then there was another one, the construction and rehabilitation of selected roads and interchanges in Ghana. We use, bauxite and other minerals as collateral.
Okay.
And there was a President Akufo-Addo who took 1.4 or 1.5 billion approximately.
Well, this is a document that you've been serializing, and you get details of this particular portion on myjoyonline.com. Thank you very much, Kofieji. Now, staying a while longer on the sector, the calls for the dismissal of the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, researched again after the conclusion of this particular IMF deal. President Akufo-Addo last year asked the majority caucus to allow the embattled finance minister to finalize negotiations with the International Monetary Fund, as well as the presentation of the 2023 budget, before any talk regarding his resignation or removal can take place. But the MPs say those timelines have passed and want President Akufo-Addo to make good his promise. They've called for an urgent meeting with the president on the matter. NPP MP for Subing, Eugene Boachientri, has been speaking to Joy News.
So a situation has arisen now where the IMF deal has concluded last week. You guys in the media are on our backs, asking why Kenneth Fuata is still opposed. But these questions should be directed to the president of the country, because we are talking about credibility issues here. We stood with the president, right? And we have played our part. So why the questions are coming back to us, the members of parliament? It really beyond me. I think that these questions should be directed to the president.
I see.
Initially, when it comes, we are waiting for we are on recess now. We've had a couple of meetings today because the media has been on our case since last Friday. A group of MPs met today. We are waiting for the majority leader to come and, either convene a meeting or the president convenes a meeting with the majority group and, tell us the way forward. Basically, this is where we are.
That's the NPP MP for Subing, Eugene Boachientri. We are told after Kumeu, that's when the focus will be put on this particular issue. Let's head to Kumeu now. And this is your election headquarters. It's 5 hours into Kumewu by-elections, and the two leading political parties, the National Democratic Congress, NDC, and the New Patriotic Party, NPP, have put their best feet forward to secure victory for their respective candidates. Voting is currently underway as over 34,000 registered are expected to take part in today's voting exercise. The ruling NPP, we are told, has deployed all 43 MMDCs as well as all deputy ministers from the Ashanti region to serve as polling agents and observers across the constituency. The NDC, on the other hand, has also deployed all members of parliament to the ground. Despite a relatively peaceful atmosphere so far across the voting centres, some voters are raising allegations of vote buying. Some of these voters spoke to Joy News and they say they've received 50 CDs from the NPP in an attempt to influence their vote. Well, it looks like the voters are not alone because the NDC candidate, Kwesi Amankwa, has also raised some allegations some few moments ago in an interview with journalists.
Our chances is very great. We're going to win this election. As you can see, it's not going to be a marginal win. It's going to be a landslide victory. The MPP can tickle themselves and have a laugh by bossing people to deceive people that they have the crowd. At the end of the day, come Tuesday, Kumewu is going to rewrite history in the constituency. NDC has a candidate in myself, Kwesi Amankwa, who is an advocate for change, who is a visionary, who is ready to develop Kumewu. And now my message has gone down. The youth of Kumewu especially are ready.
Well, we'll get to hear Kwesi Amankwa making those allegations a while ago, but I'll take you live to the ground for the very latest. But we can also listen to the communications director of the NPP, Richard Ahiagba, who's been refuting these claims as he calls on the police to investigate the allegations.
I want to say without mincing words, to say that the New Patriotic Party were not sharing money to anybody to go and vote. What we have done is to come here and canvass the people, speak, understand what their needs are, present a candidate who is a unifier, who they have embraced and they are going to vote for. We have done that, and we know that by close of day, they will go and vote, and the result will vindicate the position of our campaign. Focused on what we are doing. If people, the security services, observe any infraction, at liberty to do their work because we are doing ours.
Let's go live now. My colleague Nanaya Ojima is one of our men on the ground covering this particular by-election. Well, Nanaya, let's talk about turnout so far, 5 hours into this by-election. How has it been?
So things were very, very slow in the morning. When you go to the polling stations, you wouldn't find queues or people queuing up to vote in the morning. But 5 hours into the election, as you said, reading or picking information from the presiding officers at these polling stations, it looks like they are hitting almost half of the electorate on the voter register. So far, so good, with some 5 hours more to go, and the voter turnout have been good.
Well, there have been allegations of bribery. You've been getting reactions from the party as well. But what exactly are we picking so far about this issue?
Exactly. Within the Kumewu Township and other areas within the constituency, it's widespread that, or news is out there that various candidates are paying money to these delegates. Though I'm yet to see anyone sharing money, but I've gotten some of the information, and I've seen young men pitch camps negotiating with some party people for some money before they go to cast their ballot. So there's information, there's news that some parties are paying money to the electorate in return for their vote. But I've also been speaking with the Peace Council delegation here in Kumewu. They say that they've also picked signals of that nature, but they are yet to get concrete evidence to that effect. I spoke earlier with Mr. Hakim, who has been leading the Peace Council to the constituency.
They are saying that people are giving out money. Since we came, we have not seen any. Okay, those that we saw was on telly and other, but we have not seen anything of that sort.
Is it something you're making deliberate attempts of, finding out if it's true that's happening?
Not exactly so. We are Peace Council officers, so we should also be very careful with how we do the observation. Not going into places that we shouldn't be.
Well, Nanaya, have you been able to spot any of these MMDC and MPs that have been deployed by the parties on the ground?
So I've seen many within the areas that I've visited. For instance, earlier I met with the Asokwa Metropolitan Chief Executive, Mr. Konyansa Jima. I've also met the Kwadaso Municipal Chief Executive and other DPs from the Mount Enclave. There are a number of them who are acting as polling agents and others acting as observers within the Kumaru constituency for the New Patriotic Party.
Well, that's interesting, but really, what's the talk in Kumewu generally as they vote, you'd say?
So everywhere in Kumewu, there are discussing allegations of vote buying. Even though many of the people are coming out to vote, it looks like everyone is looking for where these people who are allegedly paying money to these electorates are to go and get their say before they go to the polling stations to cast their ballots. Some people who are not for the New Patriotic, people who are parties, some people who are for the independent candidates and the National Democratic Congress are not happy about this. So it's been allegations of vote buying all over the Kumewu constituency.
Okay, thank you very much. That's my colleague Nanaya Ojima. On the other hand, we also have Nana Boachi Yadom also covering other portions of Kumewu for us. 75 constituencies and our men are deployed on the ground, including Ohiming Terrier. Nana Boachi Yadom, the latest development we are picking up is that some polling agents are being compelled to sign some pink sheets even before the commencement of elections at one of the polling stations. What really is the issue?
All right, so Emefa, this actually happened at the Oyoko polling station, where a polling officer was seen forcing polling agents to sign pink sheets before election even began. The NDC have been raising concerns about the issue. So as we speak, the electoral process at Oyoko polling station is on hold for the meantime, up until the EC boss for the Asante region would be at the polling station to clarify every other thing. But the NDC wants the process to end for, I don't know what their reasons are, when they want it to begin. But then they are saying that they want the process to end for the meantime, up until clarification is being made. So yes, it is true. The polling officer at Oyoko polling station was seen forcing polling agents to sign the pink sheet before the election began at the Kumewu constituency.
Well, but the areas that you visited so far, and Anabuachi Adam, what would you say about the process? Peaceful so far?
The process has been very peaceful. It's been smooth. Just that we've been seeing low voter turnout, and then the issue of inducement from Wono to Sachere to Oyoko, the issue of inducement cannot be left out. Even in Wono, where voters boycotted the meeting, saying that the particular agent of the New Patriotic Party candidate came to share 10 Ghana cedis and 20 Ghana cedis for them, which was not the initial money they agreed on. So all over the streets of Bono, you could see voters making noise, boycotting a meeting they were actually having with the polling agents of the New Patriotic Party candidate. We saw some of these voters also receiving knapsack spraying machines. When you come to Sachere, where I am currently, at the back of this polling station, some of these voters are seen moving in for 20 Ghana cedis. We are doing our best to get shots on this, and I have the Member of Parliament for North Town, Samuel Kudefa Blackfast, to make some clarification on this perhaps. Honorable, you're welcome to join us. What has been your observation so far?
Well, I'll say that so far everything has turned out quite peacefully. the turnout is picking up. So far, out of the 616 registered voters at the LA Primary Secretariat polling station, we have 183 out of that number who have turned out to vote. And so far, we haven't had a case of impersonation. There hasn't been any violence, no negative significant incident to report. The only concern is what's happening behind the school, rumors of inducement, vote buying. But as an agent, I am focusing on my work. So I would urge the media to carry out their own independent investigation. For now, in terms of keeping an eye on the voters, making sure that they are the same people in the register, their name, their ID number, and then the photo ID, that there is clarity that is the same person who has had the name captured, who has showed up to vote. And then also keeping an eye on the electoral officers, making sure that it's one man, one ballot, and then all the way to the booth, keeping an eye, making sure that no foreign material is introduced. So in terms of our work, I'll say that it's been smooth. There is no negativity. The police deployment has also taken place, and they have been very professional. I must also add that if you look at the agents who have showed up, you see that the MPP agents are here, two of them. The more credible independent candidate, Bekudia number one, his agents are here, two of them. But the other independent candidates, he hasn't produced any agent. Very strangely, he has no agent here. So you can see that at least three candidates are well represented in terms of their agents. And I'm so far impressed with the outcome. Everything is peaceful, and I'm hoping that it will continue this way all the way to 5 p.m. when we start sorting out and collating the results.
Thank you very much. So, Emefa, that was the Member of Parliament for Northern, Honorable Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, telling us his experience so far in his observation here at the Secretariat polling station. He is serving as a polling agent for the National Democratic Congress. So this is what we have for you, Emefa, from the Secretariat polling station.
Thank you. That's a Nana Boache Yadom there. We're all over it for you at your election headquarters and the Kumewu by-elections all the way till the last vote is counted. We are live on radio, online, and myjoyonline.com. Let's do some other stories before we go for a quick break. And the Energy Minister, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, has hit at GMPC Board Chairman Freddie Blay. He's accusing Mr. Blay of offering interest in Ghana's oil fields to a South African oil company, Petroleum Oil and Gas Corporation of South Africa, Petro SA. The GMPC board chairman is said to have written to Petro SA offering it an equal split in the interest held by GMPC subsidiary Jubilee Oil Holdings Limited. Dr. Prempeh insists this move is not in the interest of Ghana, as the nation will lose revenue. He's therefore asking Mr. Blay to withdraw the offer immediately. Joseph Akablay of our Energy Desk joins us with details of what more we're learning. So, Joseph, you have secured a copy of the letter from the GMPC to the minister to the GMPC board chairman. What details are contained in it?
And so apparently, this is not the first time that the energy minister is writing to the board chairman of GMPC on this matter. He makes reference to a letter dated 28 October 2022 and says that the corporation, that is GMPC, should cease any further negotiations with Petro SA on matters of Petro SA's intended preemption of the Jubilee Oil Holding Limited stakes. He makes the point that the stakes were acquired by the government of Ghana with state funds, and that the government has informed the South African government through their minister responsible of the fact that Ghana would not approve of any preemption. The conclusion is quite interesting here. It says, it is therefore scandalous that in spite of these directives, you have led the GMPC to offer part of the government-acquired Jubilee Oil Holdings Limited interest in the DWT to Petro SA. I direct that you cease and desist from any further flouting of the directives forthwith and withdraw the offer made to Petro SA in your letter dated 23rd April 2023. And this is signed by Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh. And interestingly, they've copied the Secretary to the President, Jubilee House, Accra, the Minister of Justice and Attorney General, as well as the Petroleum Commission.
And we're yet to get a response from Freddie Blay. We are not aware if there's been a response back to the Minister, correct?
We are not aware of a response at this moment.
Okay. But we understand that civil society is taking an interest in this matter. Tell us more.
29 of them, including the African Center for Energy Policy, they are demanding that Freddie Blay is removed from office as board chairman of the GNPC. They are also demanding the sacking of the GNPC CEO, Opoku Ahwenye-Dankwa. We can listen to Abdul Karim Mohammed, who addressed the news conference on behalf of the civil society organizations.
We are making these demands. 1, we demand complete information on the AFC transaction and the actual amount that would constitute petroleum costs. We further demand a full audit of the expenditure of the $200 million deemed recoverable at the start of production. 2, we also demand the position of GNPC on the ACA and AFC transaction, particularly explaining why they did not preempt the sale of the asset for an upfront payment of $1, which they were willing to pay $1.3 billion upfront, which Parliament reduced to $1.1 billion in 2021. 3, we demand a disclosure of the justification to use a 14-year-old FPSO in a field with a minimum production period of 25 years. 4, we request the Norwegian government to take particular interest in the behavior of ACE in Ghana to forestall the negative image for a country that hosts a global transparency initiative, that is the EITI. You know, it is hosted in Oslo, Norway. Demand the immediate removal of GNPC CEO Opoku Ahwenye-Dankwa.
That's Abdul Karim Mohammed speaking on behalf of CSO Coalition on Extractive Governance. This is the Midday News, sponsored by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol is always a delightful experience. Also brought to you by Duraplast Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC pipes and water tank. Where Duraplast goes, water flows. This afternoon, we'll be looking at the IMF report that's revealing how 4 loans from China left Ghana on the brink of losing significant amount of revenue from some key mineral resources, including gold, cocoa, and even revenue from electricity sales. We'll tell you how the IMF deal saved the day. We've been telling you about that. When we return, we'll have sports, and then how do you keep your focus as a singer dropping hits year after year but receive no VGMA recognition?
Everyone can see I always kept going regardless, because it's I feel like I have a higher calling than just letting things get to me and not reaching my full potential.
Thanks for staying with us. Let's do sports. Mubarak, what do we have?
Thank you very much, Emefa. Now, Ghana Football Association President Kurt Okreku says his administration has overachieved its objectives in their 3.5-year tenure in charge. Kurt assumed office in 2019 after beating closest competitor George Friye, who conceded defeat in the 3rd round of the election. He hopes to be re-elected as his mandate comes to an end in October this year. Now, despite the criticism of his administration, Kurt believes he has exceeded expectations.
The manifesto, because if it's about ticking the boxes, i.e. on the provisions of the manifesto, I think we have achieved. But I think we have done more beyond the manifesto. Some of the things that we have been able to deliver to our football people has been special and amazing. That's not to say that we are wholly complete. There's a lot more work to be done for our game, because I belong to that school of thought that for those footballing products that we enjoy on TV from European markets, we should be in a position to also deliver same for our people in our country. And this is what inspires me a lot. What that means is that even though I would want to say that we've done very well, I still believe that there's a lot more work that has to be done.
So GFA boss Kurt Okreku, back to you, Emefa.
Thank you very much, Mubarak. And in wrapping up the midday news today, I'm sure you've been hearing about King Promise. Despite picking up the Songwriter of the Year in 2019, singer King Promise went 2 years without winning another award at the VGMAs. This was despite multiple nominations and hit songs music lovers were dancing to. The singer told Andy Dusty on Daybreak Hits that he kept his focus even though it felt as if his hard work was not being recognized.
I didn't love my life, get my peace of mind. I did try so. No, I like everyone can see. I always kept going regardless, because it's. I feel like I have a higher calling than just letting things get to me and not reaching my full potential. Because a lot of people listen to me and it brings joy into their lives. Puts a smile on their faces, make them feel good, lifts them up when they're down, and that's like a higher calling. You understand? Like when I had in 2019 I won, and since then I hadn't won till this year. But the years where I hadn't won, I was still going hard, I just kept going, bro. Like I just kept dropping music. It's funny when those things happen. I just always come back with a smash.
And that's how we wrap up today's edition of the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. And NPP NDC deploy high-ranking officers as polling agents in high-stakes Kumewu by-election. And we're covering it live for you on radio, online, and on television. Also, candidates battle it out for Kumewu seat today. Police issue law and order guidelines. And also, don't repeat West Wogon debacle in Kumewu today. Peace Council urges NPP NDC. I am Emefa Apawu. Living Word with Pastor Men Saltabil is up next. Please stay.